My Lords, as always, I begin by thanking Lord J. of Ulm and his staff for these reports. I could spend my whole 5 minutes, I could give them over entirely to paeans and panegyrics, to odes and oratorios, to acclamations and encomiums, but I've done it before. Lady Ritchie and Lord Dodds have done it this time. Shall we just take it all as read? But it's a great achievement to have balanced the, if you like, the orange and green and the Remain leave and the left-right tensions three-dimensionally. And I think I agree with the thrust of this conclusion. The Windsor framework makes a few things a bit better, and in a smaller number of areas makes things slightly worse than the status quo plus the grace periods. But the report is really an example of the importance of compromise, of cool-headed temperance, and the ability to talk things through in detail. And I hope you'll forgive me if I extend that logic, especially given the timing of the reconciliation bill that we've just debated, and look at what's happening in the province in terms of compromise. One of the rather beautiful and underreported facts during the Troubles was the extent to which both communities consistently rejected violence. There was a poll in Northern Ireland Time Life in 1998 at the time of the Belfast Agreement, and 70% of people who supported a united Ireland had no sympathy with physical force terrorism. 8% supported it. Come forward one generation. 69% of people in that community now agree with Michelle O'Neill when she says that there was no alternative to IRA violence. Now, of course, partly this is just the passage of time. It's the sanitizing effect of not being there with the funerals and the body parts and the physical destruction. But it also says something alarming about the readiness to compromise, the readiness to let the other side feel that they can live with something, on which all of our deliberations and the amended Windsor framework and the Belfast Agreement itself rest. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been immense progress in those 25 years. I don't think anyone will disagree with that. Belfast dockyards are now the Titanic Quarter. The Corn Market, which I remember as a dingy and dangerous place, is now as beautiful a piece of street architecture as you'll find anywhere in these islands. The sectarian murals have become tourist attractions. All of that is, I hope it goes without saying, all of that is desirable and to be praised. But it all rests ultimately on a willingness to, if you like, elevate process over outcome, to accept that sometimes you're going to lose and that sometimes the other side is going to win and that isn't a threat to your whole identity. This point has been historically aimed at Unionists, and not always without reason. I was amused by Senator Mitchell's recollection at the 25th anniversary of David Trimble having come and said to him, you need to understand about my lot that they will travel hours out of their way to take an insult. And we've all met politicians like that. But it applies equally to both sides. And one of the things that, let me put it like this, if I were chiefly motivated by wanting a 32-county state in Ireland, whether I was on either side of the border, I would be doing things very differently. I'd be engaging with British people in Northern Ireland as Brits rather than as misguided Irish Protestants. There's lots of things I would have done differently. I wouldn't have left the Commonwealth. I wouldn't have had a different foreign policy in the wars. I wouldn't have made the Irish language a requirement. Those are water under the bridge. But in terms of how I would go forward now, it's about finding a compromise that both sides can live with. In a world where we have a general retreat from liberal democracy, a general rise of populism, a winner-takes-all attitude, even in countries that are old and established democracies, this is an alarming tendency. And if there's one thing we can do in this chamber, perhaps it's to spread our irenic influence and to encourage people that in the Windsor framework and in everything else, we're never going to get 100% of what we want, and that is the essence of any functioning open society.